Welcome to your station 1999K Radio, where the dead speak. Good evening, night wanderers, YouTube explorers, and radio listeners. Welcome back to 1999K Radio. My name is Sebastian, and tonight I will be your host. Thank you for being here on a new broadcast of this, your midnight show. Tonight, we have a good show for you guys. This evening, November 20th, 2023, we're starting transmission. Please tell me, how was your week? This week I had the chance to watch Magic with Anthony Hopkins, released in 1978. Wow, it is a good movie. I really like it. Really like it. Like many of us, we got to know Anthony Hopkins as Dr. Hannibal Lecter in The Silence of the Lambs. In this movie, he plays Corky, a magician with a very little charisma, until he teams up with Fats, a ventriloquism dummy that helps him completely change his act. I know we all have seen several movies about cursed dolls, but Anthony Hopkins' performance in this one makes the whole movie worth watching. I definitely give him 5 creepy dolls out of 5. Seriously, if you haven't seen it, watch it. It is very good. I also had the opportunity to watch for a second time the movie Pearl from the 2022. It's a prequel for the movie X, also from 2022, directed by Ty West and distributed by A24. It is a very good movie. I know there were people who didn't love it as much, but personally I really like the story, the cinematography, and how it captures the atmosphere from the 20s. There's even a scene that reminds me to Lizzie Borden. For those who don't know her, Lizzie Borden was a very famous Massachusetts because she was tried and acquitted for the deaths of her father and a stepmother who were attacked with an axe. That's a very interesting story, the one that is Lizzie Borden related to, so if you haven't read about her, try it. It's really good. The performance of Mia Goth as Pearl and Tandy Wright as her mother Ruth are impressive. If you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend it. The good thing is, if you haven't seen X, you can watch Pearl and still have a good time. They're really not so much linked. Now, this movie is set in 1918 and it follows a girl named Pearl who lives on a farm with dreams of becoming a movie star. And I think you guys are really gonna like it, so if you can, watch it. Now, I wanna quickly move to the birthdays of this week. On November 13, we celebrate the release of Bram Stoker's Dracula, premiered in 1992, starring Gary Oldman, Keanu Reeves, Winona Ryder, and Anthony Hopkins. November 14, the movie Confessions of a Serial Killer was released in theaters. In 1985, this film tells the story of Henry Lee Lucas, one of the most brutal serial killers and maybe one of the biggest liars in American history. On November 15, in 1991, the remake of Cape Fear was released, a film directed by Martin Scorsese, starring Robert De Niro, Nick Nolte, and Jessica Lange. If you haven't seen this movie, you definitely need to stop doing whatever you're doing and watch it right now. It's a very awesome movie. And also, November 15, but 57 years ago, was the first report in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, of the Mothman sighting. This humanoid creature with the appearance of a moth that it is said to foretell disasters. November 16th, 1984, the movie Night of the Comet was released, directed by Tom Everhart. A very good 80s film. It's a film about a comet that passed through the Earth and turns almost everyone into zombies. And And also in this day, but in 2003, the movie Monster was released, starring Charlize Theron and Christina Ricci, portraying the life of Eileen Wuornos, a serial killer in the United States. Another very, very good movie. On Friday, November 17th, but in 1999, we witnessed the release of Sleepy Hollow, The Legend of the Headless Horseman, directed by Tim Burton and starring Johnny Depp, Christina Ricci, Christopher Walken as the Headless Horseman, with a special appearance of Christopher Lee. Also in this very day, but in 1979, Salem's Lot was released, a vampire movie based on the novel by Stephen King of the same name. Totally worth it. It has one of the creepiest things that you can see. On November 18th, but in 1990, the history of horror changed. On that very day, the It miniseries was released, with the iconic Tim Curry as Pennywise, the dancing clown. After this day, people learned that clowns were scary. Very, very scary. And finally, but not less important, in November 19th, but 1982, the movie Alone in the Dark was released in theaters. This film revolves around the family of a psychiatrist who is being stalked by 4 mental patients who escaped from a psychiatric hospital during a blackout. Now, let's move on to the main topic of this episode. Tonight, we will talk about Nocturnal Animals. As I mentioned it earlier, on November 15, 1966, the first sighting of Mothman was reported. This is a creature, part of the cryptozoology, that it is said that her sighting is an omen of catastrophic events. But Mothman is not the only being said to foreshadow catastrophes. In Mexico, in ancient times, and also not so long ago, it is said that owls were beings of bad omen, being an animal connected to the Aztec god of death, Mictlantecutli, which translates to Lord of the Land of the Dead. It was believed that if an owl hooted near your house during the night, it was because this messenger predicted the death of a family member, or even yourself. As a result, they were driven away. But not only the Aztecs did it represent the otherworldly, it also did for the Egyptians. In the Egyptian hieroglyphic system, the owl symbolized death, night, cold, and passivity. It is also associated with the realm of the dead sun. That is, the sun beneath the horizon when it crosses the lake or sea of darkness. In China, the owl heralds calamities, likely due to its large demon-like eyes, and based on a fable that young owls don't learn to fly until they have ruthlessly gouged out the eyes of their parents. The Chimo civilization in Peru used it as a sacrificial knife in the form of a crescent moon, adorned with the image of a deity, half human, half animal, in the shape of an owl. It is said that the hooting of owls was considered a bad omen, and it was believed to be a messenger from the god of the dead, and it predicted illness and death of family members. Also, from ancient Roman and Germanic mythology, it was believed that witches turned into owls and flew to the windows of houses to suck the blood of children. In the book, The Lesser Key of Solomon, the demon Andras is described as follows. It's a great marquis of hell, having under his command 30 legion of demons. He sows discord among people, appearing with a winged angel's body and the head of an owl or raven, riding upon a strong black wolf and wielding a sharp and bright sword. He is the 63rd of the 72 spirits of Solomon, Andras was considered to be a highly dangerous demon who could kill the conjuring magician and his assistants if precautions were not taken. Another demon is Stolas, also known as Stolos, Estopas, and Solas. It's a great prince of hell, commands 26 legions of demons. He teaches astronomy and is knowledgeable about herbs, plants, and precious stones. He is often depicted as a raven or a crowned owl with long legs. Finally, Ammon, also known as Nahum, is a Marquis of Hell who governs 40 infernal legions. He appears as a wolf with a serpent's tail and the head of an owl, who can breathe fire, or as a man with a raven's head, sometimes depicted with canine teeth. He tells all things from past and future. He procures feuds and reconciliates controversies between friends and foes. Another animal are the dogs. Dogs have always been man's best friend, and perhaps that's why their appearance is used by a certain being that seeks to tempt or harm humans. Mexico is full of legends and stories about people walking alone in towns or in the countryside encountering a black dog. This black dog usually has very red eyes, one could say they glow, and it's accompanied by a feeling of fear from the person who sees them. It is said to be the devil himself, who appears using this form to scare people and make them have accidents or guide them to treasures in exchange for their souls. In England, in the town of Bungay, Suffolk country, there are still ancient vervains that recall an event on Sunday, August 4th, 1577. While the inhabitants of Bungay were attending Mass, they witnessed the entrance of a black dog into the church, which proceeded to decapitate 2 parishioners in an instant. The victims had no time to react before this black dog, who was described with fur darkened than the night, very thick, large, with eyes that sparkle in darkness. It is said that in this church there are still marks on the wooden door left by this dog to gain entry. Similarly, in the story of Faust, the black dog appears as an emissary of hell, or Mephistopheles himself. And there are also legends and songs that say of hounds that chase people looking for their souls in debt to the devil. They're better known as the hellhounds. Other legends tell that shamans and nahuales have the ability to transform into large black dogs and feed on cattle and people. In the Lesser Key of Solomon, the demon Glacialabulas, also known as Cacrinolas, Crasimular, Glacialabulas, Glacialabulis, Gailos Lobos. He is a great president of hell, commanding 36 legions of demons. He is the author and captain of massacres and bloodshed, reveals all things of the past and future, gains the mind and love of friends and enemies, causing them to love each other, or incites homicides, and can make people invisible. He appears as a dog with eagle wings. Finally, the last animal, the black butterflies. In several Mesoamerican cultures, it is believed that encountering a black butterfly inside your home was considered bad luck. The scientific name of these butterflies is Ascalapha adorata, derived from the Greek Ascapulus, who is the Greek mythology the orchman of Hades, the king of the underworld. And as you know, in English, they are also known as black witches. In Nahuatl, it is known by 4 different names: Mictlan papalotl, butterflies of the world of the dead; Mic papalotl, death's butterfly; Macui papalotl, bad luck butterfly; Antesaguapapalotl, frightening butterfly. And in Jamaica, they're known as ghost bats. And it is believed to be a lost soul. Well, that's the end of this week's episode. As always, you are more than welcome to reach me out. I'll leave the Instagram link below. If you want to send me a message, please do so. I'll be here next Monday with all of you. I would also like to let you know that this episode will be uploaded in Spanish in case you have a friend who doesn't speak English but is interested in learning about these 3 nocturnal animals. I want to let you know that I will also leave the trailer of the movies that I talked about previously. And as always, I want to thank you for tuning into 1999 Care Radio. I hope you have a calm and chill night, and don't forget that while you sleep, many beings are awake. Good night.